Thank you very much for joining us tonight for the February 12th, 2019 meeting. We're going to start the meeting by performing the Pledge of Allegiance.
Here we go.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
I hope Peter got the soccer ball.
All right, so the first act we will do tonight is we'll do the approval of the minutes, and we're going to split these into two sections because of a new composition of the board and some absences at the end of last year. So the first motion I will put forth for a second will be the approval of the November 13th, 2018 minutes, the January 3rd, 2019 minutes, and the January 8th, 2019 minutes. And I'd look for a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? I'm sorry,
Aye.
we should poll the board, right? Oh, no, we're fine with
We're
that.
fine.
Okay. So the second motion I would ask is a motion to approve the December 13th, 2018 regular meeting minutes. Look for a second.
What
Second.
date was that?
December 13th.
I wasn't there, so
2008. You
I'll
weren't
abstain
there,
on that
right.
one.
So December 13th, 2018, look for a
Second.
second. And Lisa, could you poll the board?
Sure. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Winter?
I'm abstaining on the 13th, and I'm good for the other one.
Yes. Commissioner Roach?
Aye.
Commissioner Carlo?
Wasn't there.
To abstain?
Abstain.
Chairman Raven?
Aye. All right, motion made. We'll move on to the treasurer's report. Jamie Hedstrom?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so a couple of things to look at tonight. One is just kind of finalizing the year ended December 2018. We looked at this last month's meeting that I could not attend. We ended the year with a net budget surplus of approximately $240,000. This was significantly lower than where we've ended the year in the consecutive previous years. However, as we kind of talked about throughout the year, there are certain GL accounts where we have to adjust the budget line item. And this just has to do with, certain expenses coming in under or over where we budgeted. So not the budget as a whole, but the specific line items. There are a few reasons. There are quite a few more budget transfers than there usually are. There's some reasons for this. One of them is that in 2018, we did settle 2 lawsuits that we were not budgeted for. So we were able to use some of our surplus funds for that. Those were recorded to other miscellaneous expense. Also, this year, at the advice of our auditors, we did a one-time fix of the timing of recording salaries. And so this will have an impact just this one time, so you will see some overages that appear to be in the salary lines when that's not truly the case. It's just a timing issue. And then finally, we did significant improvements at Station 4 this year. We had planned, we had a small portion of it budgeted, and we had planned to go into our excess or our reserve to pay for the rest. We did not actually end up having to do that. We were again able to use the year's surplus to cover it. But again, we do have to just move funds from line to line from the budget to cover that. And then we'll be closing out our 2018 year. And our auditors will begin to look at that come mid-March.
Okay, thanks. So traditionally, when we approve these transfers from one spot to another, we generally need to read all of them all the way down, right? So we're going to do that now. All right, so I will handle that. Just bear with me for a moment. There's a few. So $146 being transferred from 9040.8 workers' compensation into 1130.5 advertising publications. An amount of $4,641.89 being transferred from workers' compensation, also again 9040.8, into 3030.2 hoses and nozzles. Amount $3,020.32 being transferred from 9040.8 workers' compensation into 3070.2 telephone. Amount $371.29 from 9040.8 workers' compensation into 3130.04 office supplies. $247.76 from 9040.8 workers' compensation into 3140.4 subscriptions. $3,627 from 9040.8 workers' compensation into 3160.4 fire training. Amount $152,235.10 from 9010.8 New York State Retirement into 1170.5 other miscellaneous expense. Amount $20,194.81 from 3411.1 holiday pay into 3090.2 certiorari. Amount $12,108.70 from 3240.3 building property repairs and maintenance into 3210.3 vehicle maintenance. Amount $19,666.40 from 3060.2 fuel and electric into 3410.13 fire captain salary. $24,559.66 from 9060.81 hospital into 3410.14 fire lieutenant salary. $107,409.20 from 9060.81 hospital into 3410.15 uniform firefighter salary. $5,257.29 from 9060.81 hospital into 3410.18 treasurer secretary part-time assistant salary. Amount $7,665.71 from 9060.81 hospital into 9020.8 social security. $4,500 from 3410.47 professional consultant fees into 3410.46 consultant fees. $258.99 from 3410.47 professional consultant fees into 3410.48 labor consultant / attorney fees. $17,482.30 from 3416.1 terminal leave into 3410.81 disabled fireman salary 207As. $237,836.31 from 3410.2 fire equipment and capital outlay into 3410.21 capital improvement station 4 exterior. $38,695.13 from 1150.5 insurance into 3410.21 capital improvement station 4 exterior. $38,908.01 from 3010.2 coats, boots, and helmets into 3410.21 capital improvement station 4 exterior. $17,558.86 from 3413.1 overtime firefighters into 3410.21 capital improvement station 4 exterior. $6,064.79 from 3413.2 overtime fire prevention into 3410.21 capital improvement station 4 exterior. The subtotal for the capital improvement station 4 exterior is $339,063.10. The total budget transfers for 2018 is $722,455.52, and I would look for a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Rice, second.
I'll second it. I
Dennis
was hoping
will
nobody would, so you have to read it again, but that's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Jamie, next.
Sure. So now looking at the financials for January, again, we're only looking at 1 month of the year. They'll show currently a net budget deficit of approximately $260,000. This is all going to be related to timing of payroll processing and when the hospital bills came in for February and March. So obviously we'll continue to update and look at that throughout the year. And then finally, just other matters. We've completed the majority of our year-end filings. We have sent out W-2s, 1095-Cs. We've sent out our 1099s where necessary to vendors and certain retirees. And we've also done our required annual filings with the Department of Civil Service. We will have our financial statement audit will be conducted in mid-March, and we will be filing our AUD with the Comptroller's Office. It is due February 28th, but we may request an extension given the timing of the audit. And then that's it for the report. I had one other thing to ask about. It had been brought to my attention. Last year, we had started replacing the mattresses and the box springs in the firehouses. And we had been given permission last year to make purchases. We purchased, depending on the house, either 3 mattress and box springs or 1. And so we're looking to basically complete that replacement project by getting 1 additional mattress and box spring for each house. I'm bringing it up because the vendor we worked with last year, the easiest way to do it is online and over the phone. So we want to utilize the credit card, and our current policy has a $1,000 limit for us to use the credit card without authorization. So I'm bringing that to the board to see if we can get permission to move forward with the purchase. It's approximately, if it's around last year's prices, it was like $450 per set. So we're looking at about $2,500.
Right. So I would say if we could do $2,500 and raise the limit for your approval to do that. Does anybody have any discussion that they want to
No,
add to
Jimmy
that?
should just note it, not Jimmy, Lisa should note it in the minutes that we passed this, because it's one of the hot
Right.
button issues for the
Yes.
for
But
control.
Yeah, for this
I think we'll do
particular
a regular
purchase.
vote, but does anybody have anything else to say? I mean, anything fun there? All right, so then we'll just do a formal motion to approve JMV to purchase these mattresses at a price of $2,500, using the credit card to allow her to do that. I would ask for a second
I
on
second
that.
that motion.
Okay, and then I would poll the board for this, if you would, please.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner Winter,
Aye.
Commissioner Roach,
Aye.
Commissioner Carlo,
Aye.
Chairman Raven.
Aye. All right. Approval of minutes, let's do payment of bills. The board has reviewed this month's bills and warrants and will make a motion to pay them. There are 2 sets of warrants and 1 credit card bill. The first set of warrants are dated January 24, 2019, totaling $250,626.34. The second set of warrants are dated February 12, 2019, $410,174.12, and a credit card bill dated February 18, 2019, totaling $2,102.82. I would make a motion to pay those.
I think we should remove, for discussion, $606.95 from the second warrants until the board has proper time to discuss it.
How much is that?
$606.95 coming out of the second warrant.
Okay.
And I would also remove the $40 bill on the 1 set of warrants. I don't know where it was in here.
I don't believe I believe it's in another pile. So that would be a deduction of $646.95 for
Correct.
the warrant, which I think we can just approve as that, because my math isn't working today.
Yes.
So we will just approve the,
With striking
the
the two.
warrant, totals, right? So we would also approve the credit card for $2,102. Does anybody have any further discussion on that?
On those removals, I'll vote no.
Okay, Anthony would vote no. That's fine. We'll do that when we vote. Okay, so I'm missing the total in my paperwork, but because.
Oh, I'll give it right back, Jim, sorry, I'm just checking off the 2 little spots where we thought those numbers were. You got it right back in a second. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, so the warrant so the total would be $662,903.28 minus the $646.95. And I would ask for a second to pay those bills with that
I'll
difference.
give you a second.
And I would ask to poll the board, please.
Commissioner Lori,
And the removal of that amount, that what Commissioner Rabin said, no. On the payments of the rest of the bills, yes.
All right, so it's a no.
Commissioner Winter,
Yes.
Commissioner Roach,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlo,
Yes.
Chairman Raven.
Yes. Okay. Chief, your report?
Thank you, Commissioner. Monthly activity report for January 2019. Total alarms, 301. Fire-related, 9. 139 EMS and rescue calls. We gave mutual aid 6 times, 4 times to the city of Mount Vernon. Twice we went to the scene. 2 times we went for standby. We went once to Scarsdale and once to Yonkers Fire Department. It was a busy month of giving mutual aid. Fortunately, we didn't receive any mutual aid. Commissioner Raven and I have a meeting a week from Friday with Noreen Roberts of Altice Lightpath regarding the phone system upgrade. And this week, she is meeting with the Westchester County Communications Chief, Mike Volk, regarding several departments having to replace their Verizon tie lines, and I'm following up with her after that meeting regarding our remote radio sites. I'll have more information on our tie lines for next month. The vehicle maintenance continues through the use of outside vendors, and maintenance mechanic Tim Dalton has been repairing the first floor bathroom at Tucko Station 2, among other projects. Next week, Tuesday to Thursday, Captain Stupple and I will be traveling to the Pierce Manufacturing Plant in Wisconsin for final approval of the 3 new pumpers. We were delayed from last month due to the cold weather. They actually closed the factory because it was like negative 60 degrees wind chill. So the governor declared a state of emergency and they closed the factory, so we had to postpone 3 weeks. So unfortunately, that pushed back our delivery time 3 weeks, but we go out there. If we have no problems with the rigs, they'll bring them to New York and we'll continue the process of getting them in service. They should go in service in late March or early April. It's going to take about 2 weeks per apparatus to get the tools mounted and radios installed and get the members trained on the apparatus. During a recent oil delivery at Station 1, the vents deployed because it wasn't overfilled, it was just overpressurized. So there's vents that open so that the double tank doesn't split. And approximately 5 to 10 gallons of heating oil spilled in the garage here at Station 1. The vents are meant to prevent the inner tank from being compromised, so they operated as they were supposed to. The DEC was notified, a remediation company was brought in by the delivery company, and they cleaned up the spill. Fire prevention and code enforcement activities continue with numerous plan reviews and inspections. The 2 probationary firefighters have gone into their shifts in their respective groups, bringing 2 of the groups to full staffing, and there are 2 members out on long-term absence, so there are 2 groups that are short 1 guy every time they work. It has not required overtime because the vacations haven't really kicked in earnest, although now with winter breaks, there are starting to be, next week there will be people on vacation, so we could accrue a little bit of overtime if there are float days. Captain Calby is continuing his annual required PESH training. This week he began the annual fit testing of the members to clear them to wear respirators. The high-rise nozzle has been delivered and the members have been training in its use. And just something that's not in my report, last year we decided to take on a company called Lexipol to help us with our rules and regulations. We really, the amount of information they had was like a 400-page template to take rules and then we cater them to us, and I just didn't have time to do it. So we're up for renewal. It's $8,900 to renew it. It's actually a little bit cheaper. I think we get a 10% discount because of our workers' comp company. But I need a decision by the board this month to decide whether we want to like maybe form a committee and actually use Lexipol, or if we just say we'll cut our losses, we don't want to renew for $8,900 and cut our, and not renew it. So basically, we were due to renew in January, but since we weren't using it, I told them I need an extra month to contact the board. I had been in communications with Commissioner Roche, but I do have to give them an answer in February.
So do you think if we can lock in a second day to meet after today, we could put that on the agenda for that day to have that discussion?
I didn't give them a specific day in
Okay.
February, so as long as it was by the end of February, I would think it
Yeah.
would be okay.
And then you in the
So-
interim, you and Commissioner Roach can put whatever you need to put together, and so that the board knows that we can.
Okay.
But Chief,
Dive
the
into
reality is, you're not gonna, this is gonna require hundreds of hours to do, and you don't have 100 hours to do it, hundreds of hours.
I would say it would require at least 2 of the board members, because every time, if I came up with a rule and then it's reviewed by the board, you guys may come up with a totally different rule. So I would want the board's input. So if I was gonna do it, I would want 1 or 2 board members, like on a committee to sit down and go over it.
Wouldn't you really want your captains to be doing this? I mean, I'm just saying,
Well,
is-
do we want the captains defining our rules and regulations? I think it should be the administration, not the labor.
the prior chief's theory was, and it never happened, right?
Uh-huh.
So the prior chief's theory was that the rules and, the SOP should be written by the guys who are actually doing it every day,
Okay,
and therefore they would be the first line to write, and then he
Right.
would edit from there. And that never happened because the captains were unwilling to do that. And so having myself or Paul or Mr. Laurie or somebody writing SOPs for the hospital or for a school building is not gonna happen. It's
Well,
just
they're
not
not
gonna happen.
tactical SOPs, they're rules and regulations, like, you know, what, like that red book that we quote from 1935 for the career staff. It's an update of that. It's not tactical SOPs for Lawrence Hospital or tactical SOPs for Bronxville High School. These are the rules and regulations that we hold our members accountable to.
But I don't think that Lexipol program is
Yes.
gonna get it done for you.
Okay.
I mean, for my vote, whether it's today, or 2 weeks from now, or a month from now, or 2 months from now, your first loss is your best loss. And so, there's not enough, you don't have enough time to do it, and I don't see the board, with all everything else going on, focusing on, I mean, if we hired an outside attorney, brought an outside attorney in, and told that guy, work on this and pay, some money to do it, maybe you get it done, but I don't see the skill set that's required to get this done, and the time available for the board members, I don't see it happening.
Chief, are you basically saying that this would be the active employee handbook?
So both the Tuckahoe and Eastchester Police use this company. That's where I got the recommendation from the two police chiefs from the local departments, and they are very happy with it. It comes with an app on the police officers' phones anytime they want to see a rule or regulation. It also comes with training, like they're required to do monthly training, so they have to like actually take, they read a section, take a test on it, through this app or through the company. They do it while they're at work. They're not required to do it when they're off duty, and we'll have computers in each firehouse, so they'll have access to it. They don't have to use their personal equipment. But it actually keeps track, and it makes sure that everybody reads the rules and regulations, because they have to get 100 on the test, and if they get a question wrong, they have to go look up the answer and then answer it correctly so that they know. So to not have many rules and regulations in writing, we do not have a lot, and we refer to the 1935 Red Book as our rules and regulations, which is ridiculous that we've gone 80 years, or however many years it is, to do an update. I know there's the 1999, but that specifically says the volunteer rules and regulations.
I get it.
So to have the rules and regulations other than civil service laws and things like that, I don't think it's a bad idea to do it. But
So you
again,
feel that this would be something positive for you as the chief and for the district?
yeah, I think for the district,
Okay.
or as Commissioner Winter said, if we want to hire our attorneys to write
Okay.
up rules and regulations, then that'll be fine. I think it'll be a little more expensive, but
Yeah, but
You
you're
know,
not gonna have
that's
the
just my
time.
opinion.
I don't think, you haven't gotten to page 1 on this yet, right, as far as writing anything. And so, nor has anybody else. And before we turn around to the career staff and say, here's the test you're gonna be taking on the computer, and we're gonna have to sit down with the union and negotiate with the union, or have some kind of SOP, or some kind of agreement with the union that their membership is allowed. Because let's say 10 guys we get 10 lieutenants take the test, 10 lieutenants fail. You gonna tell them to stay home?
well, so they can't complete the test until they get 100. And the whole purpose is they'll go back into that, whatever the day's, quiz is, they'll research it, and then they'll get the answer. But also, it was like, when I first started, I was cleaning out the other office, and I had a lot of other stuff, where it's like, now I'm here a year and a half, it's like, I think with help from two of the commissioners, that even if we just say we're gonna do one rule, every 3 weeks, or one rule every 4 weeks, we'll start the process, it's like, but to just constantly say, it's like, well, we're not gonna do it, and then, then we'll have to, ask the attorneys to do it and define what they want,
I think
what we
you have
want
to
them to
hire,
do.
I think, to me, rather than have, I don't know how much time other board members have, but I think we'd be better served hiring a human resource firm, or hiring a law firm that does human resources, spend whatever it's gonna cost us between, $10,000 and $25,000, whatever that number is, to get certainty that you're gonna get it done, than spend $8,000 on a software package that, because Commissioner Roach is probably gonna come at this from a New York City fireman's point of view. Commissioner Laurie, I don't know how he's gonna approach it, or how Stu's gonna approach it. I know it's not gonna be something that lends itself to my skill set to do this and do it properly. So, I don't, I just don't, whether it's this discussion now or a month from now, I'd see us putting this software package on hold until we figure out, as a board, what we're gonna do. And the union's on board that their guys will do something with it. That's me, and then you guys can all opine.
But I think we can plan on having a larger discussion about this later on in the month
Sure.
and seeing what we have to do. I mean, obviously, anything that we do, practicing any procedure like that, it's gotta be worked out with the union. I'm sure you know that. We can't just say, you're now doing this in this respect.
Right.
So, I think it's a valid thing to look into. And I think that we should just wait and see for what day, what's the last possible day? If you said it's February
Yeah,
28th,
it's-
hopefully
right.
we'll meet again in February before that. Dennis has valid concerns, maybe other people spend a little bit more time on that in between. We could put this on the docket for us to talk about at that later date and just say, if there's anything addition we have to add to it, you can come prepared to maybe show us a couple of things that we need to know about it better. And time permitting and everything, then maybe it's the first step in the right direction. But,
Okay.
you know, as you said, we weren't going to be making a decision tonight
Mhm.
on that, especially since we don't have it in front of us.
Okay.
So, anything else with your report? Oh, go
I
ahead, go ahead.
suspect that the next meeting, most likely, if we agree, will be February 26th, which will give you, you know, a day to contact them.
Sure, yeah.
The 28th. And, I mean, do we want to ask them tomorrow to put one of their, you know, 6 SOPs they owe us together for us? Or, I mean, does that take input?
Yeah, I mean, I can call them and ask, you know. It's-
You know, if we want to just like try to put one together so we can present it to the board, I
Right,
would be happy
right.
to work with you with that. You know,
Okay.
we'll choose one that we think could be
Mhm.
easily to implement and see what happens with it.
Okay.
Okay. Chief, all set?
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
that's
just
it.
one more thing that we will mention tonight. The firefighter examination will be held on April 27th, 2019. Applications must be submitted online by February 22nd, 2019, which is next week. Apply online at Westchester County's website. The cities of Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, White Plains, and Yonkers each hold their own firefighter examination. This test will only be available or useful when applying to the following districts. The town and village of Harrison, town of Pelham, town of Mamaroneck, village of Larchmont, village of Pelham Manor, village of Rybrook, village of Scarsdale, village of Portchester, city of Peekskill, city of Rye, Eastchester Fire District, Fairview Fire District, Greenville Fire District, Hartsdale Fire District, and Lake Mohegan Fire District. So if you are interested in taking the test, please don't hesitate to log on to westchestergov.com and follow the prompts and do so. That would probably bring us right now to there's Chester Heights update. There isn't much that I need to update as far as what I've seen. I just saw before we came over tonight that they finally, I guess they're working out the final schematic for the bay window on the ball field side of the house to that copper and trying to get that approved. I've received a number of comments. I don't know if anybody else has. The scaffolding is down at Chester Heights. It's about, let's say, 89 to 92% complete. It does look good. The scaffolding is down again. We've gotten a lot of comments from people who live in Chester Heights or down there regularly. Plus, I've gotten some comments from people who are just in the village of Tuckahoe and the other village and the town. I will read this. We did receive this tonight from the Chester Heights Civic Association. Dear Chief and Commissioners, we understand that the Chester Heights Firehouse renovations are on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Several members of our board and community had planned to attend but are unable to do so due to the inclement weather. So instead, we write to express our gratitude for all the work done so far and to underscore our community's hope that the work will continue towards completion. The exterior of the building looks beautiful. So many of us have passed by the progress every day and know that a great deal of time and work went into the renovations, which include extensive structural as well as cosmetic restorations. We understand that the interior of the building needs work as well and look forward to the full restoration. As you know, the firehouse is very important to our community. Our association has used it as a meeting place since 1955. We have missed holding our general meetings and annual children's Halloween party there. The community also misses the firehouse as a convenient neighborhood polling venue. But even more, knowing that we have a firehouse right in our area in case of emergencies, which has a record of being put to good use, is invaluable. Thank you again for all you do for the community and for this project in particular. We know it takes a lot of time and effort, and we want to remind you how much it is appreciated. Kind regards, Chester Heights Civic Association Board. Lisa will add this into the minutes. That was very nice of them.
If I can make a comment on that Eastchester Heights project. We did the exterior of the building, and now the board's discussing the interior, and that's a fluid discussion. But one of the things that the letter pointed out, and that we've known for years, is that that building is used as an area of public assembly on the second floor, where the community goes from time to time for birthday parties and community events, and the union uses it for parties from time to time. And the building is not accessible from the second floor because it's a stairwell only. So the hopes is when we do the next round of renovations, we can get the building up to full ADA compliance so the community can still use the building. If we don't make the building ADA accessible on the second floor, I think it would be hard pressed for the community to use the second floor. So I'm hoping that the board will see that obligation and move forward on it when they do the second, when we go into the interior of that project. It'd also be a very good opportunity to better utilize the second floor for all the taxpayers, in a sense that we could put a business office up on the second floor where it should have men's and ladies' bathrooms, so our ladies that work in our business office have, rational place to work. And this building is not ADA accessible. This meeting tonight's being held here because we're stuck for space. And we can make that room ADA accessible, have our public meetings there on the second floor, and have business offices up there. So this conversation's fluid. And we have the same thing with Bronxville. We have 2,200 square feet in Chester Heights and 1,600 square feet in Bronxville. That could be better utilized. So that's my only comment. And thank you for the letter. Your letter does point out the fact a lot of work was done and it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. ADA compliance in Chester Heights is more than important. I think a lot of people believe that as well. For whatever the second floor may turn into, it's definitely something that we are mindful of and that we should certainly do. Any other business before the board, before we go to comments or reports?
Yes.
Anybody? Okay.
I have a couple things. We've been going back and forth over trying to find people to volunteer for the Board of Ethics, for our Code of Ethics, and we've been unsuccessful. And if I look back at my emails, this has been going on for years. The idea of getting actually a Board of Ethics or a certified Code of Ethics. We adopted the code in, I think, around 2007, and now we are here 10 years later and we still don't have a Board of Ethics to go with it. So a slight modification to the Code of Ethics by making it just we hire an outside attorney, and that outside attorney will effectively be the board. He'll be the decision maker. It'd be like, instead of having a trial by jury, it's trial by judge, like some people do it, they have the option to do in court. So I would propose that and I've circulated this to the board and our council has opined that it's perfectly acceptable, that we move forward on the idea of accepting the changes that I presented and have the attorney act as the Board of Ethics rather than having having just the attorney do it. So we have a council rather than a board, because we're not going to get 3 or 4 people to volunteer and then we have to interview them and pick people, and we can just use the attorney we already selected and then we move on.
Well, I hear what you're saying. One is, I don't know if the attorney's willing to do that we selected, because that hasn't been presented to
Well,
him.
we get a different one. We can just change the code and then get a different attorney.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we have more paperwork to do, I would say, if anybody else had a discussion, but I don't think we've ever talked about how a matter is going to go to a third party. We've never confirmed that. Our code doesn't show if there is an ethical matter, how does it get from the board to that attorney?
Simple. You put it in the mail and email to them.
But that is something I believe the board needs to approve.
Right, if we vote, we're gonna vote on it. I
Well,
think you
that's
did
what I'm
mention
saying.
it, like-
Are we voting as a board as to whether or not a matter is going to the attorney to expend
I think
money?
we have to.
No, you wouldn't.
To our attorney, it's gonna go
To any attorney,
To our ethics attorney.
ethics attorney.
Yeah,
That's,
If one board member or a citizen of Eastchester has a question about the ethical behavior of another
Mm-hmm.
board member, I'm gonna assume, because we're not gonna use it for the union members.
Right.
Sure you
We
would.
identified that already. Well, I thought Steven said he didn't think it was like
As a
this.
citizen, I could.
Right,
citizen
right, but
could.
you said as a union, you didn't think you would probably make advantage of it, yeah. You already have your avenues, obviously.
right.
No. But you understand what we have here. Code of Ethics applies to all your employees. Now, a union member will have certain rights that are different than a board member, but they all fall under the code of ethics. I mean, all your employees fall under your code of ethics. All your officers fall under your code of ethics.
That makes sense.
And everybody falls under your code of ethics. So could you bring an action against an employee for violating code of ethics? Yes, but it's more complicated because you would go through their civil service rights before you would do so probably. But technically, they all, as your code is written, they all fall under your code of ethics. So the question being is, the board should not work as a filter or an arbitrator of what gets moved to the attorney. If somebody has a complaint and you hire an attorney and says, this guy is doing something wrong, the attorney looks at it and he says, okay, this is worth me ruling on. He writes back to the board and says, this complaint is a complete waste of time. I'm not spending any time on it. The board has their answer. If the attorney thinks there's something to it, he spends time on it and gives you the answer. So there is
And what do
no,
we do with that answer? Are we
well,
bound
it's
by
an
it?
advisory
No,
opinion.
it's never going to be bound by it.
It's never
no
going to
matter
be,
what
but
it
they're only
says.
advisory opinions. They're
Then you hire
informal
another-
advisory
Well, we already
opinions.
have an attorney
They're
on
not-
retainer who we have
Now-
not paid yet, who
now,
right now, who is supposed to
He
be
could come back
servicing
to
it.
you and say, this rises to a level above civil,
You mean
goes to
our
the
present
next
attorneys can't
level.
take care of this?
No,
Why not?
because they've asked not to be involved with it.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you see what I'm saying? So,
I do hear you, but it just brings me back again. What we're doing is we're engaging another law firm that, this law firm specifically is one that you're explaining is a law firm that if Paul feels like that he wants to send them something adversely affecting to Commissioner Roach, he can just send it along without us knowing. Or even if we do know, there's no mechanism to say, you can send as many things as you want, and we have to pay for it.
well, no, this is how it works on
I mean,
every ethics board.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to poke as many holes in this so that we have this fluid discussion to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So if I just feel like sending 7 or 8 complaints about Tom to the attorney, there's no mechanism to make me stop.
Yes, there is. It's public
is it?
opinion. 'Cause you won't-
Public opinion doesn't matter.
Yes, public would matter, because your ethics attorney,
Right. He could send his issues in all day and we'd be paying for our attorney's time.
I'll do a complaint against every one of you every day,
right, but then what would happen is,
and I'll bankrupt you.
no, you wouldn't, because you would, at some point, you would get charged with frivolous, it would
By
be,
who?
it would be frivolous,
By who?
by whoever wants to be, you can't,
Who?
We would only be able to charge someone as an action on
but
the
if
board.
you go to any municipal board, and you look at their Board of Ethics, you know this, Steve, the Board of Ethics has to accept claims from anybody that comes in. They don't have a filter that says, oh, I don't like this guy, it's my board member, I'm not taking the
There has to be a
complaint.
check on people.
What?
There has to be a check on people.
Well, how does the town of Eastchester do it? How does the Village of Bronxville do it? They
Village
just,
of Bronxville has, their board votes on what matters go to their ethics panel. That's fact.
I'll double check.
I've already
that.
had the conversation with the mayor.
Okay.
That's what they do. Because
Okay.
they don't want it to be abused.
Yeah,
So
now
they
they
reply.
have a board of ethics?
They do.
Every municipality
Civilians?
does,
Yes,
So they were capable of.
they were.
but they don't have commissioners who have, we have issues here.
No, Tom's asking whether or not the Village of Bronxville has an ethics board made of citizens from the Village of Bronxville, and that is correct, they do. Now, what we've never done is pay pose to them. Would that commission also be interested in hearing what we have?
If
an
we already
ethics
have one
matter?
in place,
The
that
town
would
of
be nice.
Eastchester would have to have one.
Excuse me?
The town of Eastchester should have one.
Do we?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I've never heard
I
of it.
mean, you have a town judge that got paid her legal bills in front of the Judiciary Committee.
I think we need to talk about
You
this.
would-
Yeah, let's stay focused.
Stay focused on fire district
I mean,
business in
come
case
on,
of
you got
wild
a, you
goose
got a
chases
town
or
judge who
personal
took
stuff.
28 grand to
Okay,
pay her legal
Dennis,
bills in front of the Judiciary
Dennis, you're
Committee.
still using
Yeah,
our
yeah.
time to talk about a matter that you have an interest with another
I
municipality.
have no interest with it. I have no interest
All
with
right, all
it.
right, so let's.
So let's talk about
So we
this.
could either reach out to Bronxville and see if we could use their already
And
established.
still have an
ethics
attorney, we still need to have an attorney. We've never disputed the fact that we need to have
Right.
one. We've always needed one, because Coogan and Gerhardt does not want to be a part of this procedure. I don't not like it. It's not that I
Yeah.
don't like it,
Just
that,
puts it to bed.
no,
Well,
it
I just
doesn't
like
put
the
it.
idea that every complaint goes to the board and then we send it. I don't think the board should ever say, no, we're not gonna see this complaint, but I don't like individuals just being able to, obviously, this is very difficult, because how do we control individual citizens? of doing it. I mean, are we going to announce that we've established this attorney as our Board of Ethics, and anyone who has an issue can,
I
you
think
know,
there's a
respond to
valid,
them?
there's a valid concern that if you tell, it's as if you're having the shredder come to town and people are allowed to bring their own information to the shredder. There is no cap on what they can, that they can use it. There's no mechanism. There may be a cap of how much they can use it. But to Steve's point and to your point, maybe, Dennis, I think you're onto something. I think it's probably 85% there, but I think this is a big question.
Somebody
And-
files, you have a workplace violence policy and you have sexual harassment policy. Does the board have to approve those complaints when they send them in? Or do they can just send them straight to the attorney according to our policies?
I think by law, we have to have avenues that they can go straight.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Yeah, straight to the attorney. Boom, it's right in your policy.
But this is not the
Straight to
same thing.
attorney. I think it's straight to the
Comes to
chief.
me or Jamie.
Yeah, I don't think it goes to the
And if
attorney.
you're the offending person, who's
It
it go
goes to
to?
Jamie.
It goes
Well,
to,
but I don't think the policy limits your ability to, you can report it to anybody.
Correct.
You could report it to
But
the
this is
police
not,
if you wanted
but
to.
Ethics Council, I don't think is the same as sexual harassment because that is a state and federal mandate, whereas the Ethics Council is a board.
ethics
so we
panel
are.
is a state mandate.
No, what this procedure is us. The state doesn't make us do this. We're implementing it as a safeguard ourselves, which means that we can create it. I told you, Dennis, I personally don't have a problem with it. I have an issue that I'm
Ethics panel
concerned
is a
about the
state mandate.
mechanism.
I'm pretty sure it's a state law that has an ethics, it requires you to have an ethics code.
The state law does not require us to be able to send whatever we want to whatever attorney whenever
But it
we do. in
requires
this
us to
matter.
have
But,
a
but
code
we're
of
not
ethics.
talking about that.
We're
We're talking
required-
about the mechanism. I'm not talking about the Board of Ethics.
The
We are
code.
focusing on one thing. The avenue for complaint A to get to attorney C. Is there a B? Is it the board? Is it a third party? I think Commissioner Roach brought up a fine point, that he would not want to have it basically a tool in the disposal of anyone, whether it be you, me, Paul, Anthony, himself. Is there a mechanism in between that says if there's an ethics inquiry being brought up, the first line of defense is the board to be able to say whether or not it's an ethical thing? Or if there's a disagreement on the board and we can't make a decision on it, then it would go to that ethics panel. That's what I was understanding is what the ethics procedure was. That's why we needed the panel.
No.
Because if we couldn't satisfy or understand or come to an agreement on a
No.
matter here,
No.
we would have a panel to
No,
put it on.
No. An
Why do you
ethics-
say no? No,
Because-
why, I'm talking about the focus that we had when creating it, not the generic what an ethics panel does. What our reasoning was for it. That's what our reasoning was.
The board just doesn't adjudicate ethics complaints. The board is supposed to pass them on to somebody to adjudicate on their behalf and to say if they're reasonable or not. At the end of the day, they're only getting an advisory opinion, and we created the code of ethics based on New York state law in 2007 requiring us to. So I'm pretty sure it was 2007, state law said, get a code of ethics, and we got one. Then we created the code of ethics, and we have a few issues that I would like to see resolved, and they've been around for a few years.
So let
And
me
the-
ask you right there, from 2007 to 2017, what did we do?
Well, when we had a question,
Well, for a panel.
we didn't do it for a panel. When we had a question, we wrote the same attorney we wrote to an outside attorney, a different attorney, and he opined and gave us an opinion to the board on a question we had about somebody.
Okay, and who wrote the letter?
Our counsel wrote the letter.
So who was the counsel at the time? With
It
the
was
example you're
probably,
talking
the
about.
counsel at the time was probably John Callahan, and he wrote to an outside attorney who gave us a letter on what could be a possible conflict.
So
And he
who was
answered us.
Callahan? Was that the district attorney?
He was
Our
the fire
district's
district's attorney, yes.
So he wrote a letter, or was it a letter that was provided to the board that the board had to approve?
No, he wrote a letter with a question and sent it to someone to give an answer to, and that person gave us an answer.
Okay.
I disagree.
And basically, the board, it sounds that the board instructed our counsel to ask another counsel for his opinion on whatever matter it was at the time.
Correct, so a board had to come to an agreement to send that opinion off to the
Exactly.
lawyer in order to get another opinion. So,
Sounds right.
it sounds like there was a mechanism in place where the board would agree to send and have this work performed.
Yeah,
And I
but
think
it
that's all we're talking about. Because the example that you're providing us is that Tom can just send work to the attorney, or Steve, or John Q. Public, and regardless of whether or not we understand it, or advise of it, or fill in the blank, we're paying for it. Even if they, I mean, I could send her a complaint and say, I think it's unethical that and I'm not trying to make fun, but I could say it's unethical that we're meeting here. And he can opine on it using those words. It could be 1 page, it could be an hour of work, but the board is now paying for something that when we look at it, we say, somebody sent something to our ethics panel or our ethics attorney that asks whether or not we should be permitted to use this room. And we're gonna look at it and we're gonna pay $170 or whatever in order to do that. I think it's an important matter to discuss. I told you, I'm not against it. I just think that there should be a mechanism. And that's why we're here, to fluidly discuss things and figure out what's best for the board. That's my only comment.
Yeah,
You
I'm
guys
interested
can make a motion and vote for it however you wanna do. I feel that there should be a mechanism as part of the language.
I'm concerned about the integrity of the board, not so much what's good for the
What
board.
does the integrity mean?
The
I mean, this
integrity
isn't
is
even
last
about-
month, we have a resident come up to a board meeting, and it turns into a screaming match, and over a question of integrity, and that's
Well, hold on,
out there, whether you
hold on,
like it or
this
not.
ethics board is not about that. The ethics board is about the conduct on this board,
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
So let's talk about what the panel is used for. You, sending a letter to an attorney asking for an opinion about what transpired at a previous meeting is still only going to get you an opinion.
Not what transpired at the meeting, it's just pointing out that we have open ethics issues we haven't gone unresolved. We have.
Okay, I'm not quite sure. I don't know what they are. I don't know what the ethics
I'll make
issues.
it very clear. You have a board member who took $5,000 to campaign. To me, that's an
Oh,
open
my
ethics issue.
God.
That's an open issue.
Okay.
That's an open issue. He wasn't a board member at the time, but
Right,
you
but
have volunteers.
this panel is not being created in order for it to be abused. This
Not to
panel
be
is
abused.
being,
It's a simple question.
then I believe that there needs to be a safeguard on this panel.
And how much-
the vote. Hold
how
on,
much money
hold on,
did
I'm
you
still
cost
talking.
this fire
Hold
department
on,
so far, since
Anthony,
you've been on
Anthony,
here?
please, I'm still talking. I feel, in my opinion, everyone can look at it their own way. I would make a motion to table this for our next meeting so that people can have better discussions about it and see what more in writing and understand what you want to do. That would be my motion would be to table it so that we can discuss it more. I personally do not feel comfortable voting on this with that mechanism being unanswered, or if it just being, like Steve had pointed out, like Commissioner Roach had pointed out, that it would be will. I don't think the organics of this is flawed badly. I just think that mechanism is missing. That's what I believe. So the board can proceed how they would like to proceed. That's just my opinion.
Okay, let me move on to some other items
Well, no,
tonight.
we're.
Okay, you guys wanted to...
We don't, Dennis, you cannot act as if it's a slight against you.
I'm not.
We're having a
But if
conversation.
do you want to table this? Is that what you're saying, Dennis? You'll table it
Well,
for another?
well, obviously, there's not going to be a majority of the board going forward with this tonight, right?
I'll only have one question then. I'm wondering, as you were talking and I was listening, do we ask the lawyer himself that we choose to be our ethics attorney to decide whether he believes it's worth his endeavor or not? You know, right off from first glance before he even gets involved, is that an out that we can have?
So long as the attorney decides that they don't want to get paid to look over something.
I know, it does sound very tough.
No,
I know.
I'm-
You can ask him what mechanism he'd put in place. Just ask him what mechanism he'd put in place. This is what we're trying to do. We want to retain you. What mechanism would you put in
So
place?
why don't we have that conversation with our attorney before the next meeting, and then we can bring this up in
And
the next
that's
one.
my job, because I
Right,
assume that
So why don't you
responsibility.
contact Steve Slednick and work with Dennis and bring that up and see what Steve says? And if Steve says, listen, no, this will be fine, I'll be able to monitor it properly, then he gives a report back to the board indicating that we can move forward as Dennis has it written, and we just go on from there. I think that's fair. Paul,
That's
what do
fair.
you?
I'm fine with that. I mean, I think because we have, by having a committee, I think you're feeling that we can avoid several, costly expense.
And abuse. See, if we had a committee.
In a committee,
we would-
you can have a million things come to them because it's not gonna cost them anything. You have a lawyer, now you got fees involved.
I think that even though with a committee, even when we were first discussing, there needed to be a mechanism where that committee would be engaged, just like the Village of Bronxville's committee only gets engaged if the Board of Trustees votes to pass that on
Right, you have
to
the
them.
you have the mechanism, but it also does not cost anybody anything.
Right?
So, but by having an attorney brought into it now you've got that added layer.
Well,
of
you have that
cost.
anyway with the committee, because the committee has to rely on the attorney for advice. The committee goes with the attorney.
Well, but it will also depend on the matter. Because if the committee feels that whatever the matter could possibly be, that they can properly give their opinion on without needing to engage legal counsel, that's at their disposal, but not a requirement. It's just that we want to make sure that we had one
The committee
attorney.
could triage a lot of this.
Correct.
So, you know, from that angle, it's probably wise to have a committee, but the flip side to that is that who's going to be on it? It's been years now, right? So,
Well, I think the other thing too is that we've never actually established what would be appropriate in writing of who would be a committee member. What would we be looking for? Tom has done some asking around if people would be interested in joining it, but if somebody was to ask you, could you give me a write-up of what the responsibilities are? You're providing the communication vocally, but we don't have anything written that the board has approved as saying this person or persons would personify a board member. Or even if it's simple as what their residency is, and if there's an additional conflict for some reason. Like if they are an active fireman or member of Local 916, perhaps that is something that would disqualify somebody. We don't have any of that in writing.
right.
And actually, since the last meeting, I thought that those would have been good questions for the lawyer. You know, who can we include? And I would assume we can't exclude anybody.
Right.
You know, so what would be the parameters? I think they'd have to be very simple. I think I said that last month too, is that they'd have to be an age, 18. They'd have to be registered to vote. They'd have to be citizens, residents of Eastchester for how long, we'd have to determine. I mean, I think a year is pretty balanced. Educational requirements, I think we would be, we would limit that. We would,
Right.
we'd have a broad range, in other words. And
Anything's
that's what we
possible.
want.
But I feel like if it was codified and that we had it as part of our code, then it would be easier for not only you, but for anybody else to be able to say, this looks like I fit the bill. You know?
Right,
If we were
yeah, I
to, if
see
we
what
were
you're
to,
saying,
if
yeah.
we were to go down that avenue.
But the
and not the
likelihood of us
attorney.
ever getting that done is very, very, very low.
I don't know.
It's like getting the rules and regs written.
It's all conjecture.
So then I will, we'll table this to our next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
And hopefully I'll have some more information.
That would be great.
Okay.
All right, you had another matter you wanted to
Yeah,
go
one thing,
through?
well, one thing was, I sent an email around about, Treasury Direct. Treasury bill rates are up, and their typical bank account gives you about 25 basis points, quarter of 1%. And over at the Treasury, you're getting about 2.25%, flat yield curve, so between 3-month bills, and they have 1-month bills, 4-week bills, 3-month bills, they have all these bill options you can buy. If we took I bet we have about $8 million on average, on a dollar weighted average for the year. Because in May of 2016, we're gonna get $18 million, $17 million. We'll probably have $5 million when that money shows up, right? $4 million when that money shows up, total.
No, a little less.
Okay, so $20
Oh,
million.
yeah, including the reserve, yes.
Yeah, 20 million bucks, right?
Yeah.
So $20 million at 2% is 400 grand. So if you just had that for 6 months, we could make $200,000 to $300,000 by having Jamie actively manage the Treasury Direct account with no fees, and the money goes back and forth between Treasury Direct and your bank account automatically. I happen to do it myself personally a lot. And it's an excellent, excellent way, and I think all the municipalities in town should do it. If the other municipalities aren't doing it, or the school districts, they should, because Treasury rates are relatively high right now for 1-month and 2-month Treasury bills. So you can get 2.25%.
They're not 1, 3, and 6 months?
No, they're 1-month bills. They used to be 1 year. They used to be Treasury bills used to come in 3 months, 6 months, and 1 years. Now they come in 1-month denominations, 2 months, 3 months, and they'll have what they call a CM, a cash management. But we're not going to play with the cash management. We can just and they come around tax time for the Treasury to balance their books. But we could actively buy treasuries. Every month we could roll them, or every 2 months roll them, and not have any cash flow issues, and probably earn, I'm going to say 200 grand a year, with no effort. Well, Jamie will have some extra work, but that's the usual case anyway.
What are your
An
thoughts?
extra hour in your pay.
What are your thoughts, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it. I mean, our banker has been advising that we should be doing something different. And we have to, they have options to open a brokerage account to invest in these same kind of treasuries through them, but that obviously comes with fees. This is doing it directly with the government, so you avoid that piece of it. The only thing I'll say is it might trigger fees on the other side, so we would have to look, because right now we don't pay any fees to our bank for anything because of the balance we keep with them at all times. So, and probably at the rates they're at now, it would offset. It just will create, additional administrative work. But looking at it, does seem fairly intuitive. So it's certainly something possible. I don't know if there's any restrictions on the reserve account specifically. I don't believe so, but I could talk to Cheryl.
So you're not supposed to buy more than 5 million treasury bills in any one auction, non-competitive. So you just might have to stagger some. But, yeah, and it's a very easy website. You can put in there, roll it 10 times, and then roll it 1 time. It's very, very easy, intuitive website to use. It does come with dual authentication, so when you log in, you have to register your computer, it sends you a text. So it's pretty secure.
I got a question. You can do roll over 1 or roll over 10. I mean, obviously you
Yeah.
go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right up to 10. What if you choose to roll over 10 and then you decide, oh, I need that money?
Just take it back and put 0.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of putting, if we have an $8 million reserve, of putting maybe 1.5, 2 million in 1 month, same amount each
Well,
month,
Jamie will
1
make a
month,
schedule.
2 months, 3 months, and just have them coming over at all times, like spread them out.
Jamie can schedule them, yeah.
The yields are a little higher the long, as you go.
Not
Not
really.
very big,
No,
but a
not
little
very
bit.
Not really. The curve is relatively flat. Normally,
Right.
further you go out, the higher the rate. But the curve here is pretty much 6-month bills. I know this because I bought 6 months the other day and 3 months. Both bills pretty much within pennies of each other on maturity. They're both the same yields.
Oh, yeah, right, because you gave it to them, they were only double, actually, they were exact. Yeah, so you would go with the lower amounts then?
I would,
And with a
well,
rollover?
I would just schedule, Jamie's capable of making a schedule, a pro forma when we need money, figure out how much cash we have. We're gonna have $20 million sitting there. And if you go, like, right now, we use JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan Chase can't, had this conversation with them for my personal account I want to buy treasuries in my personal account there. And they can't unless I move it into a brokerage account. And so then you have to open up all the paperwork for a brokerage account, and then you end up with a brokerage account. If you're gonna open a brokerage account, might as well just open up a Treasury Direct account.
Right.
Yeah, it is true. It does require you to do it through Chase. You'd have to set it, obviously, because our banker can't handle that for obvious reasons. So we'd open a new account and have a new person assigned to that. But it obviously there is a piece of it where they're gonna take a fee. So.
Yeah, there's no fee
Yeah,
here.
but we already voted to do this.
We voted to
January
use it as a
8th.
depository, but we probably need we need a plan in front of us to show how much money and what you decide is appropriate for us, and then I think we should vote on the plan.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah.
if you want to have that ready for whenever we decide the next February meeting is, and then maybe we can jump in on a March.
The trick is to have the money, June 1 is when we really want to start putting the money to work. Because that's when we get the money from the town in.
All right, so then try and coordinate a plan that way.
But why not, I agree with you that that's our big influx of money and that's when we should have the plan. But why not already implement it so when the big money comes in, we've already have the shell set up where we can just put it in place.
Right, because like basically on $1 million, like the reserve account has, let's say it has $2 million in it. If we put the $2 million in reserve account in it and you didn't use that money this year, that $2 million is $34,000 in interest. That's material.
Yeah, especially because Chase is giving probably the lowest of all the banks right now.
Well, I think they're at like 17 basis points or something. So,
Okay.
all right, so the next item I wanted to discuss. We got a proposal for upgrading the server to switch over to, right now we have siloed on Google Drive, we have silos, where it means I can't see what you have for your files and your files unless you permission me. We can go get something called Google. Jamie, you should listen to this. Oh, good idea. You get in the door? Is that it? Get some air? Steve will get this. Yeah. So basically, their cost proposal came back and it was confusing. It was $600 for 3 months. So I called them to ask for clarification. It's basically $10 a month per user. We go from $5 to $10 a month per user. So it would cost us, if we have 30 users, about $4,000 a year next year. In other words, when it rolls over, it's gonna be $10 a month per user. And if we go upgrade, we can get 10 more licenses, and then the lieutenants can get emails, because we have 10 lieutenants, we give the 10 lieutenants emails. And so it would cost $600 to move to the next level between now and June, and in June, it'll cost us about $4,000. I think we should do it. I don't see any reason not to. I don't see why we wouldn't just upgrade. Now, then you'll have a question of who gets to control the vault, but that's another question. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm not gonna be the one upgrading us. I don't
The only
care.
question I have is, do we have a copy of it?
Yeah, it
for
was
us to look at?
$600. Did she mail it out, didn't she? I thought it went to commissioners.
No.
It was $600.
Okay.
I didn't see it.
Okay. It was, I thought it said commissioners on the top, so I didn't respond back to it.
Was it a whole document like to be signed, an
No,
agreement?
it's just a one page. It was just one page. It said, to upgrade your license, Jamie, you saw it, right?
Yeah.
It just said, to upgrade your license for 3 months is $638 or something. And then,
Have you seen it? No. I haven't seen it.
well, I showed you. It's only $600 for 3 months. It's not like a big deal.
To go to Vault.
To go from Google Basic to Google Business.
Which includes vault and
And-
additional storage.
Which we're
backup.
required to have, from my understanding of the last conversation we had
So we
about
had
this.
basic?
Yes.
So it was a basic program
We
this whole
had-
time?
yes.
This wasn't?
No, we
more than
had-
that.
Well, originally, there was a specific Google for government
Yeah, and that
product.
just,
And then sometime around,
evaporated.
it did, because they made
Right.
their basic product meet all the regulatory requirements, so they said they no longer needed a separate government
Right.
product.
So we
But we
had-
always had like the lowest level of that, which did not include vault and had
Right.
a limited amount of storage.
Right. And we're at a storage capacity now. We're at like 90% of our storage capacity
Yeah.
we're at. So,
Yeah.
so we have to expand the storage. It's $600. I don't think we need a board resolution to do it. Jamie can just spend this, upgrade the, sign it in and send it in. It's just a matter of 3 months and then come June, you'll get another program, whether you want to
Yeah, because that's when our renewal will come
renewals
out,
in
which
June.
is generally, $1,000 a year for the few licenses we have in the
All right.
basic program, so.
And this way, the chief can get the lieutenants if he wants,
What do you think,
up on
Tom?
the,
Anthony?
one email.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think if it provides something for us, Dave.
I thought you guys got it, because I saw commissioners on top. thought-
I might have seen it, but I forgot it possibly.
Okay, the next item. I had here hire a part-time attorney for HR, but we'll test that later on making rules and regs. Chief already hit on that. I want to thank Mr. Ingledon. He rescinded his FOIL, so we're not going to have to spend $10,000 getting his documents, and so that was good that we moved on that point. Fireman exam, we checked. Radio replacements, chief, have we got any progress on that, or we mentioned that earlier? That you
Yeah, I
wrote-
mentioned the tie lines are, a meeting with the
On the 22nd.
Altice, a week from Friday, and we'll have more information at that point. She's meeting with the county this week.
Okay, and now I had one other thing.
In fact, I would recommend that maybe we should try and do our next meeting after the 22nd, so the chief has a report for us on whatever may be discussed on that Friday. So, try
Yeah,
and,
so the Tuesday, the 26th.
maybe that would work, yeah.
We'll find
We'll
out
talk
at
about
the
it
end.
later, but maybe that would be good.
I got one more item, it should only take a few minutes. That is the board issuing an order to the volunteers, fire companies, and basically, we're just gonna ask for 4 items and then provide them with something. And now, I don't see us moving forward on the volunteers in any which way, shape, or form unless we get some communications going either way. I mean, this idea we can't have communications is not gonna be helpful, so any communications is good. So here's what I was thinking. And this is, the board issues this order to the fire companies, and it says, each fire company will furnish the chief a copy of the current constitution and bylaws for each fire company. So that just simply means the fire companies all have bylaws, we get a copy of them. The fire company supplies a list of officers, including treasurer and secretary, to the chief of the fire district. This includes and the Volunteer Officers Association will supply same. Each fire company will supply the chief of the fire district a list of active members with current addresses. So far, we're not asking for anything terrible. Ongoing concern verification to make sure they're still in business. Each fire company will furnish the chief a complete bank statement for a period ending on or about 12/31/2018 for the fire company. Bank statement must include the address of the fire company. So we're not asking for 5 years of bank statements, we're not asking for a lot of work, just one bank statement.
Right, what's the next one?
The next one is, we provide, the officers, when we get the name, we're gonna provide them, when the chief finds out who he's giving this to, we wanna give them a copy of our code of ethics and our sexual harassment prevention policy, because we're supposed to be giving that to all our employees and affiliates and stuff like that, so they get a copy of that policy. And this is kind of important. There's a lot of off-site meetings where they have dinners and functions and that type of thing. And so all, and I took this wording kind of out of their book, all intoxicating liquors and/or alcoholic beverages, and I added including wines, are prohibited at all volunteer and fire district-sponsored functions, regardless of location. And that's important because somebody leaves an event, they have a few drinks, they call it a company dinner or something, and they get in a car accident on the way home, they're leaving technically our event. So why do we want to be in the business of if we have this out here, it's basically says, you aren't supposed to drink, it's a defense line if we ever get sued. We told them not to drink, they drank, not our problem. So, the bottom line of this is, any fire company failing to supply the requested material, I added the date, March 12th, our next meeting, is subject to the fire district seeking to dissolve the fire company or expel the members. Now, the officers. Now, we can't dissolve a fire company. We can request somebody else do it. We can't. I don't think we can. But we can expel members if they don't comply. The chief of the department will supply a copy of this order to each fire company. If the chief is unable to provide service to said company due to lack of members to serve, take out the R, the board may seek to dissolve the fire company. And that's basically saying, guys, this is not a lot to ask for. This is pretty basic stuff. And it's not threatening, it's not hostile, it's not anything but asking for the most basic of basic stuff. I think I would make a motion, we do this.
Does that include the paid personnel when they have the annual dinner dance?
The annual dinner dance, they're not gonna, if members of the union have a dinner
I was
dance,
talking to the chairman of the board.
I honestly don't know.
Well, I would think so. I'm not, please, Steve, I'm not
No.
offending you, but I'm just
I know.
asking that question.
I haven't heard it being mentioned.
Well, I just wanted to know, does that include the local 916?
According to that motion, it doesn't.
It doesn't, okay. So then why should it only include the volunteers?
It's not my motion.
No, I'm not, I'm just saying, I'm asking the chairman of the board.
the career staff doesn't drink on our property. so
Where,
that's-
well,
If the-
that
well,
that
that
motion
state-
doesn't state, that doesn't say just our property, it says anywhere. But my question
Yes.
is, because I don't know, where is that language from? You said you're using their language. Where is it from?
Okay,
So that, I
I'm
don't know
using
if
some of the
Commissioner Roach
intoxicant.
knows, I don't know where it comes
The
from.
all intoxicating liquors line, which I thought was kind of cool, that came
Yeah,
from the
everything you do is cool.
that came from the rules and regs from 1924, which is the only rules and regs I could see for one of the Tuckahoe's companies, the same rules and regs that only allow white males to be members.
Okay, but
Why don't you?
is that in all of the red books? Or could that have been weeded out at some point and we don't know that?
We don't know, that's why we need them.
Well, it's not the red books are the department.
Right,
He's speaking about one of the volunteer company rules and regulations. So different, it's like the red books are the Eastchester Fire District's rules and regulations.
right.
He's specifically talking about the Tuckahoe Hose Company
So
rules
this,
and regulations.
so do we know that it's
Only
in the
because
other
I'm there.
houses?
Mine
Do we
don't
know?
know.
Well, they could all say only white males, we have no idea.
I'm not talking about
Why
that.
don't
I'm talking about this language. Do we know that it's in more than one
Well,
book?
I use the word, no, I have no idea, I've never seen the other books, we can't see them.
Okay, so I get that, but what I'm saying, again, not pushing this aside, just having a fluid conversation.
Sure.
We don't know if this is included in the other company's books, like you said, because we don't have those books.
Correct.
So I would
looking
say
at a
this.
1924
Here's what
book.
I would say. I would say, and I understand where you're coming from about not being in the business of the liability. I get that. I would say, me personally, there's two things that I would say that I would like to see altered in this before I understand. One is, we remove that until such time, unless you make it specific for that company that you got that language from, we're assuming that every volunteer company is held by this. Because
No.
we don't know.
No, I know right now, I can say with 100% certainty right now, that when volunteer companies go out to arrest Chow's or to Fogarty's or one of those places, and they're meeting as the VOA, or they're meeting as the Waverly Engine Company,
Whatever it may be.
alcohol may be served in those functions.
But see, this is where I think a lot of this breaks down. We're not talking about the same thing. I'm not disagreeing with you about whether or not those establishments have alcohol, and I don't know whether or not these gentlemen and ladies are imbibing it, because I've never been to one of the meetings at a third
Tom,
party.
you've been to a vote,
But-
Waverly, do they drink alcohol?
They had beers there.
Okay.
But.
They had beer in the firehouse, Tom?
No.
No, no,
he's talking about the
but Dennis, and I'm not
Chow's.
disagreeing with you with
Oh,
that
okay.
either. What I'm saying is, because, according to what you said, we don't know about all of the books that are related to each hose company, we may be asking a hose company, or I don't want to use the word threatening, but pressuring in a written format for them to do something based upon that, something that may not be in their bylaws. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying this is your basic disclaimer, where if somebody was to get into a car after they attended the Fogarty's restaurant and had 4 beers paid for, they attended a volunteer function, and they went there as a volunteer member, and they
Right.
crash into 3 people and kill them, and
We're
they
not-
turn around and sue us,
I agree with you. I agree with you. But you're not answering my question.
what's there to know?
Where did the language come from?
I was
You said the 1934 book.
1924 book.
Okay. That 1924 book is for one company or all companies?
One company.
That's what I'm saying.
But would
This-
you want?
So we
but my
can't
point
address it
is-
to all 7 companies.
That's what I'm saying,
if it's
until we
only in one
know.
book,
No,
that's
you
what I'm
want
saying.
all 7 companies not to drink alcohol.
Agreed.
Well, that's what we're
100
saying here.
But
We're saying all intoxicating liquors and/or alcoholic beverage, including wine, are prohibited at all volunteer or fire district-sponsored functions, regardless of location. We're saying, guys, don't drink when you're attending a volunteer function, period.
okay.
If you're gonna call it a volunteer function, we don't want you drinking and leaving there.
Right, I get that, but I guess here's where the disconnect is. You were saying that you were using their language, that this is what they have written.
No, the intoxicating languages, the intoxicated liquors, I thought was an interesting phrase. It's one of those old phrases. So I saw it and I said, in the book, they said you can't use intoxicated liquors inside your firehouse,
Right.
all right? We now to extend that now to restaurants.
That includes paid personnel too, then?
No, paid
Why not?
personnel, they're not gonna
They're-
sue us for.
They're on the payroll too. They're on
not gonna-
compensation. I answered that question.
Not if the union is running it though, then it's another entity. It's not the district, it's the
If
entity.
it's a union body, right?
Pardon me?
Let's wait for the
I have a question.
Let the committee about
So we'll
this.
get a vote.
Jay, tell me when I can go off duty.
He came to your
Here-
union
here's
party,
what I
he
would say. I
drank
hear
at
what
your
you're
union
saying.
party?
And I don't disagree with you. But what I'm saying is you are taking the language out of one book that you are assuming goes for all of them. So what I didn't understand was that you're asking for this to be a new policy.
Yeah, just-
Okay, are we permitted to do that since it seems to be in their bylaws? Who are the entities who are approving those bylaws that we are asking for? Is it the volunteer or is the district? Enlighten us, because that's what we want
In
to
their
know.
bylaws, it says white males only.
That's not my, that
wanna
has
go
nothing
down
to do
that
with my
road?
question. That has nothing to do with my question. My question is whether or not we are permitted to enforce that as the board against a volunteer company.
I'll put it this way, if somebody leaves a bar drunk, leaving a volunteer function, and they get in an accident, you're gonna wish you passed that resolution, or passed that order and gave it to them. Because it's just like when people give training for sexual harassment training to their employees. It's a layer gets between you and the plaintiff.
St. Joseph's
no
Holy
layer to
Name,
get
St.
between you
Joseph's
and a
Holy Name
plaintiff.
Society has a party in Fogarty's. Is the church responsible for them?
It would be if it's overserved them.
So is the answer you don't know that if we can do that? Or
We can
is
do it, we can do it tomorrow.
We can ask
right
for,
now, we can
if-
pass it.
but is it not, no. I'm asking whether or not that piece of language is actually enforceable. Because my question is, again, which I'm not getting an answer from, maybe the chief knows, those small red books or whatever SOPs, bylaws, whatever the regulations are for from the individual hose companies.
Right.
Is that a document that is in the end approved by the Board of Fire Commissioners, or is that an internal document?
I believe it's an internal document that each company, which are private corporations, that they passed and, you know, when they set up their rules, when they incorporated with New York State, that they created those rules and regulations, which are
Right.
separate from the district's rules and regulations.
But we can prohibit a fireman from drinking we can prevent alcohol being served at a volunteer fire operation function, because they are functioning under our umbrella.
I don't
I would
think so.
think.
I don't think so.
But you would think, and that's
Okay,
what we
I'll
don't
tell
know,
you
that's
what.
why we want
I'll
to
tell you
know,
what.
we want to
I'll tell you what.
understand.
To satisfy you, Stu, just to make you happy with it, I will remove the alcohol clause.
No,
and
I
we'll
don't-
We'll
you're-
let that out,
You're,
and I'll look
you're-
for a motion to adopt this
No,
without the alcohol
I-
clause.
I'll have further discussion. First of all, I don't want that line taken out, I'm just asking questions. See, this is the problem. You don't have to relate to that. Secondly, I think that we should give them till April 12th, because if it's, by the time the chief gets it done, it's gonna be less than 30 days. We should give them 30 days, or make it 30 days from Monday. But we should give them 30 days to put all this stuff together. I think
I've no
that's fair.
problem with that.
Okay, but as far as your alcohol inquiry and whatever, you're not taking it properly. Nobody's arguing with you at all about whether or not it's valid. I think people have questions, they want answers to
You're
them.
questioning the enforceability of it.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that somebody wants it taken out.
Okay, we'll leave it in, but the worst, all I'm saying about it is, by having it in, it's
Will
an
we
extra
plan to call
prophylactic,
Paul
that's
today?
all it is.
Maybe this is a question for Paul.
We can certainly call Paul, but that was just a question, see, is it enforceable and what is our ability to do so? That's all.
And did the insurance broker ask you for
Well,
this information?
I was just gonna throw that into this mix as well. So we are coming up on our annual insurance for our insurance renewal for, property casualty, so not the workers' comp, because the volunteers are included in the workers' comp, and that's usually what we point to as the cost to us associated with volunteers. This is the first time, so they sent all the paperwork for us, we fill out all these different questionnaires for them to
Right.
look at the renewal, and I guess every few years, they do a more detailed request. This is the first year since I'm here that they have done this detailed request. So one of the things that is coming up does relate to the volunteers and whether because there's now like separate, like it's for the crime policy part of it, and it's getting into issues with, who are the companies, what are the bank accounts, who are the treasurers, and what level, of access do they have? Is there dual verification? Are their computers locked up? All of these types of things that you would expect today. And I did get down this road a little bit so far with Kevin Barry, sort of explaining our situation. And there is now even a question of, do they have their own insurance? Should we be insuring them? Because I was trying to explain to him that, we don't oversee their funds. We don't have visibility to their funds. I don't know, right now still,
Right.
I don't know. It's these companies with these people at these addresses. I don't even have, those are the things. So I'm starting down that road with Kevin. So it is something that sort of now is on the forefront, and it might be a question of, are we saying, well, we don't want to insure them. They're not associated with us, so we don't want to insure them. And it's easy as saying to Kevin, pretend like we don't have volunteers. That might be a possibility. I don't know. So we're just getting just now, but it has come up.
So this is
Now.
this is obviously an insurance issue. So the board would have to discuss and figure
yeah.
out,
At a minimum, some
maybe a
basic
communication
information.
like this needs to be larger than what it is.
Well,
No, this will cover it.
we
Well-
passed almost 5 years ago, no more liquor in any firehouse.
Right.
And that's been passed almost 5 years ago. So there's no liquor in any firehouse.
Right.
Do you know what the cost associated to the volunteers is?
That's where I'm headed. I know what it is for workers' comp.
And what's the workers' comp portion?
It's like around $15,000.
15,000.
Essex Place and Buckingham Place, Department 4 Nancy, AML seizures.
So let's make it,
Yeah, it sounds like we have to pass this motion because our insurance carrier is asking for it. So it's fair to ask the volunteer companies provide us with the information we need to provide our insurance
Right.
company carriers. It just makes sense.
But there's Tom, as I said, there's no liquor in the
Yeah,
firehouse. That's been passed over 5 years ago,
Right.
and I voted in favor of that also.
But
So,
the aspect that was being discussed is
Yes.
all fire district property.
okay,
That's
yes,
what was being
that-
talked about.
Okay.
And
but-
for insurance purposes, they're
Am I leaving the clause in?
predominantly
Wanted to
focused
interrupt.
on the money
up to
and the
the board. I don't
crime,
have-
and if
I
there's
personally don't have a
fraud
problem
at
But
a.
does it
Okay,
state
we'll leave it
anything
I
about
don't have a problem.
volunteers or paid personnel going out to restaurants and having a party and drinking? Does that
No,
state that?
there is actually a separate, no, it's only if you, I think it's only if you sell liquor. There is a separate form, it does ask about liquor, but I believe it's for the
So
sale, so.
if the volunteers or paid personnel have a party in Lake Isles or parties in the Bronx or anything, and they have liquor and all that, the fire department is not responsible. I'm not
get
saying
sued.
they're going to go out and drink and smash into somebody
I mean, if we're
and kill them.
insuring them on our insurance,
I don't think we're
know.
insuring them if they go
Well,
out to a restaurant. Does this fire department insure the 916 when they go to Lake Isle to have their 20-year
Let's
service award?
not, Anthony, we shouldn't have it going.
I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know. I'd
Okay.
have to
Steve,
check.
do you know if
No,
the
they
fire?
don't. We go to, we have our own insurance,
Okay.
and we're a separate entity. We get invited to parades, everything else,
Yeah.
as a local,
Right.
not as a department. We make sure we have that separation all the time.
And we get invited to company, to parades and other function as a company, not as a department.
Correct.
That's how we get invited.
Eventually for the volunteers to have their own insurance.
Yes, which they may, and I just, I'm missing, and
No
it may
chance.
be the case that
So
we're
add
insuring
that
them and
to-
they're
to the
insuring
list then.
themselves.
Does please advise us if you have any of your own insurance. Please advise us of any insurance
Okay, we'll ask
carried by
general
individual
liability
companies.
insurance. We'll just
Yeah.
ask, the question will be, please provide a copy of your latest general liability insurance.
Sure, and if they say they don't have it or they can't provide it,
Right.
then that's their answer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we pass this resolution with the alcohol prohibition clause in there. If anybody wants a second, and I'm adding the general liability insurance, G&L insurance.
A second.
There's a second.
All in favor?
No, no, absolutely no.
All right, so at
So
least you
call
got
the board.
Commissioner Lori,
No, absolutely no.
Commissioner Winter,
Yes.
Commissioner Roach,
Aye.
Commissioner Carlo,
Aye.
Chairman Raven.
Aye.
Okay, so that was what I had to discuss
All
tonight.
right, so, local, any additional local 916 comments?
I don't want to take up the public's time, so.
And you're very comfortable over there.
All right, okay. Commissioner reports, from Carlo.
Well, are we gonna talk about the email? Did you read my email that I sent about the allocation of resources and making a plan moving forward and how we wanna deal with this and the rigs and the number of rigs and the manpower and the rigs and stuff like that? Do you have any comments on those things?
I mean, we've had this discussion. I would be very much against closing Chester Heights to try to consolidate manpower to get more people on a rig. I think it's an isolated area, and the increased response times are going to be a safety issue for Chester Heights. So I think that we need to continue with the renovations there and not consider closing that firehouse. What we do with the ladder truck, wherever it's gonna go, we know it cannot fit in Tuckahoe, so whether we're gonna move an engine to Tuckahoe or put the ladder truck and an engine in Bronxville, you know, that can all be up for discussion. I've expressed my thoughts that I would like to see 4 people responding together and have the engine and the truck coming out of Bronxville, and then just use Tuckahoe Firehouse for fire prevention. Possibly administrative offices, things like that. I've already heard from some residents of the community that, you know, they caught wind of that and they disagree with it. But I think as far as complying with 2 in and 2 out and having the 4 people respond together, they're gonna be able to comply with the federal rules and regulations that we're bound by. You know, the way it is now, when 2 guys show up to a house fire, they can only go in if there's a known victim in the house. They can't just go in to start because it's like, hey, we're here. It's like federal law requires that when there's 2 people going inside, that there's 2 people as a safety team outside before they're allowed to go in unless there's a known victim. So if we know, the mother says, my daughter's right in that room, yes, we can go in and take risk. You risk a lot to save a lot. You know, just if you're gonna save property, you don't risk a lot. So I think putting 4 people in the firehouse like we have in the north end, you'll have the supervisor, the lieutenant on the ladder truck, and the engine company will be a lieutenant and 3 firefighters in that house. And I think with the distances to Tuckahoe that Bronxville and this firehouse cover, this firehouse already covers most of Tuckahoe for EMS calls. And the rest of the EMS calls are picked up by Bronxville because the engines go to the EMS calls. So we're only talking about relocating the truck. And as far as ISO rating for everybody's insurance rates, they don't even consider that a firehouse because there's not a pumper in there. So even though there's a ladder truck there, as far as ISO is concerned, we already only have 4 firehouses.
In the Tuckahoe Firehouse you're
So
talking
if
about.
we
Well,
don't have
16 has a pump.
it doesn't matter, because it's not an engine, it doesn't have enough hose.
Okay.
You know, it has limited hose, and, you know, it has a pump, it can pump water, but because it's not a pumper, you don't get credit for that house. So, you know, we're not gonna lose anything if we use Tuckahoe as, you know, to eliminate a first response vehicle. So will it be a little bit longer response times for the ladder truck? Yes, it'll have to come from Bronxville, but it's still within the NFPA standards and the ISO standards on distances and response time. So that's my thought, that Tuckahoe would become the reserve firehouse. The reserve engine would be there, the reserve ladder truck would be there, the frontline rigs would be in Bronxville. We maintain Chester Heights headquarters and North End as is. So
Okay. So-
that's my thoughts.
No, excellent. Now, how about administrative offices? You think the second floor of Tuckahoe is the best place for them?
Well,
If we were
as
to
it's
expand.
always brought up for, you know, handicap accessible, I don't know if that's the best thing.
Oh,
My
okay.
thought that fire prevention would take over the first floor room, that there's no stairs to get in, there's no ramp required, because the sidewalk is the same level as the apparatus floor. And then the fire prevention office would be on the first floor with no steps, no ramps required. So their offices, you know, they need more, I believe they need more space for all the files and things that they have, that they could use the Tuckahoe Firehouse and move out of the north end.
And so then you're, and Jamie and Lisa, obviously feel free to, you're extremely comfortable in your front office, or, I mean, this is, we have to make this decision because we have to vote on things, we have to decide to move forward.
Right.
So it's a good idea that we all are on the same page of where our vehicles should be, how they should be manned, where we should place them, where we want our administrative people. This way, you know, we can kind of focus and be right, you know, rather than do this 3 or 4 times.
I looked at Bronxville. Bronxville's got 1,600 square feet, I measured it out, 1,600 square feet in Bronxville unused. Beautiful space. Chester Heights has 2,200 square feet unused upstairs. Chester Heights has parking. Along the ball field area, you could probably put parking down on the end, and you have reasonable amount of parking. Bronxville is gonna, I think, put a parking lot in next where the salt lot is now, but I'm not sure. So those 2 buildings have ample parking. Chester Heights doesn't have parking. Here, in
Tuckahoe doesn't have parking.
Tuckahoe doesn't have parking. And fire headquarters here is not ADA accessible at all. We have large steps to come up. We have the total square footage in Jamie's office is 230 square feet roughly in Jamie's office and Lisa's office. So you got 230 square feet of office space with 2,200 in Chester Heights and 1,600 in Bronxville. We could put an elevator, we're gonna have to put an elevator in Chester Heights anyway, when we do the second floor. We could put a business office up there. You could put a conference room in so the chief can host the career chiefs from time to time. The chief has never been able to host career chiefs here. And we don't have a professional presence. We just don't have it. But we have wide open space. So we could give the community in Chester Heights, we could give them a community room that would be excellent, a multi-purpose community room. We could put a business office up there. We could put a small chief's office here. He could check the bills and do that kind of stuff here and have a small office here as well. But we have the facility that's wide open, and we're in the drawing phase anyway of Chester Heights, what we're gonna do with it. I think the business's office either go in Bronxville or Chester Heights, and, because we're just waiting for a hazard here with there's no steps into this building. There's no ramp, no anything into this building, and no space. So, yeah, I know it's gonna, like, we always used to have a saying, you wanna make an omelet, you break some eggs. And not everyone's gonna be happy at the second floor, either Bronxville or Chester Heights, but long-term, that's an answer for this department.
Yeah, as far as the handicap accessibility, there are 5 or 6 steps to go into the front office. So, you know, whether or not that can be addressed, it's, you know, It's how much money do you want to spend? As far as the office size, before the first of the year, when the former chairman was here, the thought was that when I moved out of the little office, that wall would come down or make an arch into it so that all the filing cabinets could be moved into that little office. And then Jamie and Lisa would have more space in their office there. They wouldn't be as cramped.
But
If
they're
all those
still-
filing cabinets came out.
They're still sharing a bathroom, one bathroom for the whole floor, basically. And so it's not a ladies' room or a men's room, it's one small bathroom for the whole floor, and it's not an ADA accessible bathroom. It's not proper. We can put ADA accessible bathrooms in, we can put ladies' rooms in, men's rooms in, we can do like normal businesses do. I've built organized plenty of office designs. It's not hard.
Can I speak?
Sure,
I'm talking to the chairman. now.
yes, sure, talk to them.
My opinion, I do not want to see Tuckahoe Firehouse closed. I want to see an engine in there. I spoke to a lot of the men on the local. They even told me, and I've seen it because I drive the trolley around, engine 27 goes down to the assisted living once, twice a day, sometimes 2, 3 times a week. While that engine's out, we have to wait for an engine to come either from North End or Bronxville to Tuckahoe. We had a tragedy on St. Patrick's Day many years ago on Dainty Avenue. When Waverly pulled up, they needed assistance. Bronxville took a little more time to come here. He gave them assistance. We had a man die in a fire there, in a house fire. I do not want to see, yes, excuse me, the hook and ladder goes to Bronxville, I have no problem with that. But I do not want to see it left out there without a pumper in there. We do need a pumper in there. We have Main Street all rebuilt with all new apartments, Midland Avenue. We got a hotel coming on Marbledale Road. We got all of the buildings on the Parkway Oval. All those buildings down there. We have the big apartment buildings. Yes, the hospital was in Bronxville before the hook and ladder even came to Tuckahoe or Bronxville or anywhere. I do not want to see that place closed down. I do want to see a pumper left in there with 2 men. If the safety officer wants to go in there and the chief wants to put him in there, I have no objection. You still could use that with a pumper there at all times. I'm sure the people got angry and let me know about it when Tuckahoe Hose Company closed down. I got it all over me, and I wasn't even a commissioner at that time. Now, if they find out that firehouse gets closed altogether, I'm sorry to say they're gonna be up here in arms. And wherever we have our meeting. That's my opinion. I do agree that maybe the inspector does need a little bit more room. You got 2 rooms upstairs, or you have the room downstairs, like you said, you wanna use for an office, all well and good. But I will not give my vote to close that firehouse.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. So, how would we feel about a ladder truck being permanently in Chester Heights?
I think it would be better situated in Bronxville because of the Midland Gardens complex, Lawrence Hospital. With the type of structures that are in Bronxville, I think it would be better situated there. It would be more, it's still at one end of the district, but it's at a much denser end of the district as opposed to Chester Heights, where the tallest building is 4-story 2 Lockwood. The rest of them are, 1-story taxpayers or 2-story, taxpayers and single-family homes. So Bronxville is a much higher, multiple 6, 7, or 6-story buildings, and the hospital, the 250-bed hospital.
So we're all perfectly clear. I'm just going to recap, and you tell me if I'm correct or not. You would like to see in 2 years, 2.5 years, when all the construction's done, you'd like to see a 2-man truck in Bronxville with a 2-man engine.
Yep.
You would like to see the 2-man engine over in Chester Heights.
Yep.
You would like to see fire prevention in the Tuckahoe Firehouse. You would like to see the captain's car and 27 engine up here in Main Street.
Yep.
And then Wilmot have, Station 5
Would
to
stay
be
the
the
same.
engine in the truck.
I think that would be the most efficient deployment of the apparatus. And I know there's already been some pushback, and it's only in the discussion stages. But, sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and, is my I'm in my 28th year with the department, and, you know, before that, 8 years as a volunteer, so I have a little experience with this department, and I think that would be the best deployment of the resources. You know, I have received pushback from some of the commissioners, and I'm willing to listen, but it's, you know, even if you go back to that 25-year-old manpower study, that was one of the suggestions that they made in 1995. So,
Right. To me personally, I think the best allocation of our resources would be an engine and truck in Bronxville, the captain and engineer, and an engine and truck in Wilmot. And possibly with the elimination of one of the engines, the Chester Heights engines, but you know, you're against that and that's fine. We'd add additional man to the engineer and the engine in Bronxville or Tuckahoe. I mean, to me, that would be the most efficient use. We'd have units traveling in tandem,
Right,
which is
right.
safer. They'd be arriving on the scene together, which complies with
Yep,
that 2
yep.
in, 2 out. And, you know, then we have the issue about Chester Heights being a minute or two beyond what everyone does consider the acceptable response rates, which I understand. But we don't even 100% sure of that because we haven't really gotten the resources from Westchester County to give us the response numbers into there. I mean, they must be available to us, that Westchester County collates all the runs that originate in Chester Heights. We should look and see how long Main Street takes to, you know, how does engine 27 respond from here? How long did it take it to get into Chester Heights? How long did
we can pull that information out of the data, it's just may have to go through each call one by one. Like we can do every call that was in Station 4's district. And so that'll be, you know, a third of those calls to half of those calls are gonna be EMS calls where there's no second engine even coming. So we have to go through those and say, okay, this was a full assignment. Because you're only gonna have a full assignment is the ones that you're gonna have the
I
second
understand,
engine and truck.
it's gonna be a
So
lot of work,
we
there's
do,
no
you
doubt
know,
about it. But until we have the facts, let's deal with the facts.
Right.
Once we know the numbers, then we can make concrete decisions. Right now, we're making hypotheses.
Chief, if they can export that data to what they call a flat file, an Excel file,
You can pull it out as a Word file, Excel file.
Excel file, drop it into Excel file,
Uh-huh.
I can manipulate the data and come out with it'll be a lot faster me manipulating if they drop it in a decent format. I can manipulate it and get you the answers.
Yeah, all the reports in RMS can come out as, you know, export, you know, to whatever file you want.
Yeah, so if they
So-
they pull that out, we can just,
They don't pull it, we just do it right from our local computers, you know, we have access.
Well, I apologize, Dan, since we're not gonna be able to settle this question, obviously, now, because we're in search of more information, and we have other avenues that we have to discuss and hear back from the public. We'll actually have to announce, this is what we're planning, please come to the meeting and let us know. But for what we do know, thank you, Dennis, for bringing Steve LaRocco. I found him to be a very informative and organized architect. He had that beautiful summary of the work that we done within a day. I would really like for us to move forward with the Bronxville roof, because we know we need to do the Bronxville roof. There's no question about it. I think that we should move forward with that. If we want to reach out to several architects or Steve and have him make a proposal and see what that's going to do. And since we have no definitive decision on Chester Heights as for what we're going to use the upstairs for, but it sounds like, and of course, if any commissioner disagrees with me, please let me know. It sounds like the chief sounds pretty firm in his belief that we need to keep an active engine in that company. And if that's the case, I think that the most efficient and appropriate thing for us to do is to just act on that floor for now. Understanding that elevator's coming, because we cannot even finish that building without putting it in. Stu went to the town, the town attorney, not attorney, but assessor or Jack King maybe it was, I forget who it was, or the architect, said that yes, you can do phase 3 with the understanding that phase 4 needs to be done eventually, and that it will be done. Because I'd hate to start making plans, spending A&E fees, and not really have a final idea about how we're gonna deal with it. I mean, we know we're gonna deal with it, it has to be dealt with, but exactly what is it gonna become?
well,
Right.
I
So
think,
Bill, let me build upon that for a second. the appropriate way in order to do that, to stay within the ADA compliance for the federal and the state, is we would have to move forward with the architectural plan drawings as if we were going to do the full building only, right away. We're gonna do the whole interior right now. What we are permitted to do is allow those drawings to be put together and then notated as being phases. So if phase one is the first floor and the ripping out of the floor, making the first floor bathroom ADA compliant, the entrance to the building ADA compliant, the
HVAC.
the heating, and the abatement of all lead-based paint, and the apron, and the dropping of the floor if we choose to make it lower, which we can because we have a lot of headspace down there. We can do that. We rip out all the beams, we drop the floor, so now any engine of any type can go in there. The opportunities are pretty much endless. We could even use it one day if we needed to, if there had to be an interior repair done to a ladder truck and this garage wasn't available. They could go into Chester Heights and do that repair down there if there was no engine in the way, or if that engine came out and got parked outside. We would be required as a district to maintain that the second floor was not usable during this time. We either have to lock it or just claim it for storage. And once we decided to use the second floor, we could not do so until we fulfilled the ADA compliant construction. But we are allowed to do the construction of the first floor as the first phase and then do the second phase. That would be a money conversation.
Or third and fourth.
Or
phase.
third or fourth or fifth or sixth phase.
Why don't you just do it all right off the bat?
Because we don't know what to do.
But that's absolutely, we could do it all off the bat. The issue why we're even having the conversation right now about not doing it off the bat is because we had basically a discussion that developed about whether or not we were going to finish the house. That's why. I mean, doing it off the bat was the plan, I think, from the beginning. When I came onto the board in 16 or 17, my opinion was that we should have done the floor first, and the roof was being done. And then I spoke last year to the board, and I indicated that maybe we should do the floor now, and I was told we're going to do the exterior. So we have to do the floor. The only reason why this plan was kind of discussed was that we know that the floor in Bronxville and the roof, and that's also an issue. By doing a sectional or a phase construction for Chester Heights, we'd get the mandatory thing that we need to do. That floor that is falling apart again, we need to get that floor done. But when that first floor was done and the chief wanted to put a ladder truck in Bronxville, we could then move on to that floor and then come back to Chester Heights. And then both floors would be done. The ladder truck would be where it needs to be faster, and then we can finish the second floor of non-vital construction. That was only another plan. We could do it all at once. I'm completely fine. We could
hire
vote
an
on time.
architect and tell him we want him to, this is what we need to have done this is what we want it to look like when we're done.
But what do we want it to look like? Do we want it to be professional offices or
I
a
know
meeting
what I want it
space?
to look like. I want it to have an elevator, community room for some sort of a community room.
Well, I would think more before a district room, like a board room, and
Yeah,
then it
but
could be
then
utilized
a
by
room
the
for our
committee.
meeting. I
Yeah,
would think
for
we
us.
build a room for our
Yeah.
meeting.
A multi-purpose
room,
space.
like this space right here, nice multi-purpose space. And then you have office space for a business office that has nice 4-drawer file cabinets you pull out that are normal height, that has normal computers. There's a commissioner's office maybe where somebody can go in and look up stuff. The chief has an office there. At some point in time, we're gonna need an in-house part-time attorney, I think, so you're gonna need, or a purchasing manager or something like that. So you're gonna have a second office that you're gonna fill at some point. So and it's not that hard.
I hear you. But maybe for the sake of time and being able to jump on the spring, if we left the second floor as just a blank canvas, we put the ADA compliant bathroom, men's and women's, on the second floor. We put the elevator in. And leave the second floor just basically open until such time we're getting ready to do it. Then we could do a more defined plan at that time.
The only issue with that is you're gonna put a multi-zone system in for heat. It's cheaper if you know ahead of time when you put your heat system in, where you want your air conditioning to hit and where you want the heat to hit. And so if you know at the end of the day, you're gonna use this for a business office versus a multi-purpose room, the multi-purpose room you may not keep at 72 degrees when it's not being used, but you will keep the offices at 68 or 72 degrees. And so therefore, it's better, this is not, I don't view this as being a long discussion.
Yeah, I think we're getting started. We're gonna do Chester Heights.
I have
We're
no
gonna get it out
problem
of the
doing
way.
Chester Heights.
Yeah.
My only problem is, look at the big picture of this department. It does Band-Aid every time it does something. do something professional and decent.
Agreed,
and-
100%.
and
So
move on.
the floor of Chester Heights is the biggest problem we have in the district, and I think most people agree that it has to be removed. It has to be replaced.
Right.
And,
heat.
and all that,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say, what if the heat goes out next week and?
that's part
Then
of
you
it.
take engine 30 and you stick it up in Bronxville, you take the ladder 16, you put it in the shop back here, you run 2 engines out of Bronxville until the floor's done, everybody's happy. Or else you take, and isn't that what you do?
I've been advising the board that the heating system has been a problem
Right.
since over a year ago. I think we're in the 13th month of saying
gonna
we
break.
need to do something about the heating system.
Right.
And it sounds like it's not gonna be done until next winter.
But,
And we're still in
No,
February.
that heating,
Well,
that
I
heating
thought
is
I
part of
just
the.
said that, let's make a resolution
Yeah.
and do it now.
but
Yeah.
that house is gonna be offline, no matter what we decide to do and when. That house is offline for a year when the construction starts. It just is.
Well, we
So
can
you'll
also
be running
find out.
You'll be running from Bronxville 2 engines, and you'll be running a ladder from Tuckahoe, and you'll be putting the spare ladder from
Right.
Bronxville somewhere in the back here.
But
And that's
you're
gonna
gonna
be
tell
done.
them-
But I will say this. We've seen it with the work that just went on with the exterior because we had BJB Construction working on the second floor. It is plausible that we could attack the first floor, get that out of the way, and then move up to the second floor, and then that house is open.
Yeah, that's positive.
And then we could, the house and the basement is open 8 months from now rather than 2 years from now.
It'll be a year.
Well, they're saying 18
But
months
it-
for the
but
whole
it's still
project.
half the time.
But it's half the time, which means that we can order a ladder in anticipation that it could be here next year, and that ladder could be in that apartment, in that department or engine building, firehouse soon. And then when you choose to move that ladder to Bronxville, you move it because that floor's got to be done first. So Chester Heights can house the ladder and use it, and then when the plan calls for that ladder to be moved, we know in advance it's a temporary parking area and response area, and then we get everything. And we do the professional job like you were saying, and if Bronxville, the difference too is that Chester Heights Firehouse, their dormitories are on the first floor. Bronxville will be a little bit more difficult, because if you need to make everything ADA compliant, you may not be able to divide that into the proper phases necessary, because that second floor is being accessed constantly. So you either have to close it or do it all at once.
end up closing anyway,
Whereas
you do the floor.
Chester Heights, you can close it just for the limiting of the first floor and then reopen it while the construction proceeds on the second floor. Bronxville, their dormitories are on the second floor. So there's no
Yes.
elevator, that all has to be done before you can get, you can have people going up there.
Well,
That's what I would only say is the difference
They can
between
get up
them.
there, the outside stairwell can get them up there, even if they're doing the floor. You know,
So-
the one stairwell goes right
And,
through.
and to that point, if we need to put a second point of egress in Chester Heights anyway, we can punch a hole in the side of the building and put in a temporary door to get the men and women from the field into the dormitory behind the larger section of the floor that's probably gonna have the most work. And then they can at least get into their dormitories if they need to during the day. There's a lot of
Window.
options.
They can climb the window, they're fine.
So,
Yes, can I make a,
sure, public comment, sure.
you cannot close down Chester Heights, it's an outpost. I mean, we've put out fires before 27s got there, we've given CPR before the ambulance gets there, we've gotten people out of cars on the parkway before the ambulance gets there. We are minutes ahead of everyone else down there. There's no easy way to get down there, and you're hoping that 27 isn't at One Riverview when a call comes from Chester Heights. And I also agree with Commissioner Laurie about always manning Station 2, Tuckahoe. At least 5 apartment buildings within a mile of here didn't exist 5 years ago. You are expanding your fire load in this town, and you're thinking of having less engines. You should be thinking about having more. You should put the engine in the truck in Bronxville, but consider, like Mr. Laurie says, keeping an engine in Bronxville manned. Because that's
Tuckahoe.
gonna be- Tuckahoe, I'm sorry. Tuckahoe manned, because the Jackson Avenue is going to be opening up soon. You got the hotel opening up soon. It's going to add to the calls, and these rigs aren't going to be available to go back and forth between the town. With 4, I don't care how many people are on it. It's only one engine. One engine with 5 people can only go to one place at a time. So you're going to need the extra engines in the future. And she's thinking along those directions.
All right, well,
Thanks
thank you for your
comments.
input.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, I don't have anything
I
else.
want to
Yeah.
ask Chief something. Chief, did you, I see it says over here, you got Commissioner Carlos' badge, and you got one for Commissioner Winters.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't have one, Commissioner Winters?
It's misplaced.
He
Okay.
asked us to.
All right, I just want to know, did you get
Get
one
another
for,
one.
did you get one for Father Sorgi?
That's me.
Lisa's been
Yeah.
ordering the
Oh,
bags.
okay, all right, that's all I wanted to know.
All right.
Did you charge, did you fine Commissioner Winters his 3 days pay?
You should find me 3 days pay.
All right.
Dock me a week
$5
even.
deposit.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, Chief. Because, never mind, I'd rather not say.
Okay.
But we're gonna vote on this construction
There's
tonight.
nothing to vote
No,
on.
nothing to vote on.
There's nothing to vote on. I mean, what we will do is we will, I presume that we'll, basically agree to move on with Chester Heights from this point and
Yeah.
start doing everything we have to. Hopefully, by the next meeting, we can, I didn't think that we were gonna do anything construction-wise at Chester Heights until FSI gave us the all clear and the punch list was done for the exterior. But it looks like there's a possibility that some of those minor tweaks won't happen until the spring. So they may not giving us a full punch list. So we should move forward with the next step, contact FSI, tell them what we're looking to do, and then
Why
have a
them?
conversation.
Why do we want FSI? I would rather not use FSI. I think their rates are pretty high. We paid $265,000 total for a project that was about $850,000 or 30%. Some of that was a study, but still, I would prefer to go out to another architect. I would just go out and find another architect.
Understood, but that $265,000 extends from costs always back to 2015, correct?
Yeah, but we're still where we
Okay.
are. We are with roof and windows. That we're done what we got done.
That's more than 30 years worth of neglect, so I have to say.
But it's still-
I have to say, in the last 2 years, we did more than 30 years of done, so.
I think, how did you like Stephen LaRocco, the architect that we saw in Bronxville?
Conducted himself very well.
Yeah, were you happy with him?
Yeah, I guess we would have to check references on places that he's done before and see if they were happy.
I think we
But he
should
seemed
ask
like a
both
very
of them from
personable
scratch for a
gentleman.
proposal.
Yeah, I did too. I thought he was
Do you
quick.
know, do you have any idea what other places he's done?
I think Commissioner Winter
Yeah.
might know some.
Yeah, his website had a whole
so-
list of them. You can, I'll send his website back out again. But we could go and ask FSI for a proposal with their hourly rate. We know what their hourly rate is. And we could ask this fellow LaRocco for one. I also circulated the name of a fella who lives in Eastchester, who has an office in Eastchester. I don't know if he lives in Eastchester. Who, I just went to the phone book and looked up architects in Eastchester. I didn't know him from Adam.
And I think that's what we should do, is we should contact 3 or 4 architects and tell them what we're hoping to accomplish and encourage them to put bids in on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Put bids on, just to give us a pricing sheet of what your prices look like.
Right, well, pricing sheets, yes, but even a write-up and what they believe it would take to do it. The reason why I like FSI for Chester Heights is because they've been there for so long.
They haven't done the interior. They know nothing
Well,
about the
maybe,
interior.
hey, of course,
Yeah,
cost
to
is
see.
everything. Like, if we got 3 bids,
Yeah.
and one's 80,000, the other's 120,000, well, it'll be pretty easy to choose which one we want. But that's what we have to get going. We need to get this out there, let the architects know that we're planning to do the work, and let them give us proposals so we can choose one and move forward.
What I would do is get somebody else to look at the roof his fellow didn't look at the roof at Chester, at Bronxville. We just walked him around the firehouse.
That's true.
He didn't see the roof. But my guess is he's probably capable of doing a roof inspect. I would like to get somebody else than FSI to spec out Bronxville, and I'd like to get somebody other than FSI to spec out Chester Heights. But my own problem with FSI is I thought their rates were high, and they hit us for 10 grand when they thought they were going in, quote, in their pocket. And I thought that was just, I look at what you totally spend on a construction project, and in my world, I think 10 to 15% is supposed to be the ballpark range, and we're at 30. That's a problem. I'm not going there anymore. That's me.
Okay, then that's your comment, whatever. I will still say that they've been in there and they know the building. It may not mean a lot to some people, but I think it's worthy to keep them in the mix. And if the board decides to move forward with somebody else, then so be it. Let's just get the floor done. It's 35 years overdue. Enough with the neglect. Get the floor done. I don't care who does it. Just get it done.
Get it
It's
done right.
absolutely inexcusable this floor has sat there the way it has for as long as it has. So let's just get it done. Okay? If anybody wants to go out and get architects and get proposals, they want to be enthusiastic about it, let's do it. Then let's go and contact some people. We all have a rough idea about what we want to see have done, and let's just get it done. That's all. And just submit them to everybody, and we'll have another work session where we can go over stuff and kind of see what people do. anybody here at the board knows that anybody they're reaching out to is for the point of trying to get the best possible work done at the most affordable price for the district. We're not handing in somebody, just because you bring somebody in doesn't mean that they're the ones that you have to go with. You have to keep an open mind. If Tom brings in 2 people and I bring in 1, maybe one of Tom's is gonna make the better choices in their drawings than I do, and we figure it out. So if the board's ready to do that, I would say let's go get some proposals and get Chester Heights finished,
Amen.
right?
Oh, also, we want to do the roof in Bronxville at the same time.
Well, I mean.
I think it's appropriate.
It could be done, and I think it's a very easy project. If you want to run
Well, the
that
reason why-
project, you should certainly do it. We
The
could
reason
just
why
take
I
the
say
Salvatore
that is,
specs.
we know what it cost us to do the roof in Chester Heights.
Well, I think even more so, we know the material that was used, and that's the most important thing. It's the same material. We want that material, that foam-based attic shingle, which I think everyone agreed was the best possible roof we could have, right?
Salvatore,
Long life,
we're using Salvatore, go
easily
get Salvatore.
replaced, you
We'll
know,
know after the next hurricane.
I guess. Okay.
Hopefully
Why?
in 100 years.
Well, all right.
Go get Mr. Salvatore, he's done our roofs. We've
The
worked
Salvatore's
for him.
great.
Well, we'll put a, when the time comes, we'll put a bid out. I'm sure the Salvatore Company and
Right,
many
right.
others that have submitted will submit their thing. But I think that's what we have to do. Dennis, I don't think anybody on the board will have a question whether or not if you want to spearhead the Chester High, the Bronxville roof, please go do it. Take care of that roof. Let's get it replaced. It needs to be done. But I think all of us know how important it is to get Chester Heights fixed. So we need to get that floor done. So we can throw out that 2015 engineers report before the rusty beams fall and those plates fall
Well,
and whatever.
If the chief thinks the building's unsafe, he's perfectly capable of moving 30 over to Station 3 for now, and so, there
I
you
would
go.
defer to the engineer's report, so the floor is not in good shape. It's had water damage to the wood supports, the bases of the wood supports have been exposed to water due to the leaking boiler and the return steam pipes.
Absolutely.
We have the fan running again, so it's dry in the basement again, but during the window constructions, we had to remove the fan for about a month. So the basement is much drier now. But still the boiler's leaking, the return steam pipes are leaking, so there is still a water issue down in the basement, and it's not groundwater, we
Right.
know the heating system is on, duct tape and rubber bands holding it together, so.
Let's do what Commissioner
Right.
Ruban said, let's get this place
But
completed, please.
once the warmer weather comes, the only thing that we have to worry about is the weight of the truck on that floor anyway. So anybody who works at Chester Heights isn't gonna make a difference to that floor, and we put the engine outside if it becomes an issue, right? And then they stay there.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a couple of things in executive, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn to executive session and would like a second.
Second.
Anthony, and all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. See you next time.